and gentlemen, welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I am Falakzev Khan, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions, by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge-sharing community. We have one such acclaimed name on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Mr. S. Kesavan. Hello, welcome, Mr. Kesavan. We are glad to have you here today with us on FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you so much, Falak, for inviting me for this FaceTime with Leaders series. I'm glad to be here with you today.
So let me give you a quick brief about Mr. Kesavan. He has a rich educational background, diverse industry exposure, and a wide range of functional roles amassed for over 2.5 decades, showcasing his expertise in operations management, customer lifecycle management, business excellence, finance, enterprise risk management, and more. His contributions span across various renowned organizations in the telecom, BPO, and manufacturing sectors. In his latest role at Tata Teleservices Ltd, which he has served for over 2 decades, he has handled several responsibilities, gradually stepping up his way through the corporate ladder and being designated as head of customer service and operations. So, Mr. Kesavan, first off, our viewers would like to know in brief about your career journey.
Sure, Palak, I'll be glad to share that with you. So, like you had mentioned in parts there in your introduction, I have pursued my CA course. That's my qualification. So, I'm a chartered accountant by profession and then a rank holder at that as an academic background. And that led me to working with very many renowned organizations and very many fantastic leaders in my work life across, spanning across 25-26 years of my work life. Okay, so my first initial jobs while it started off with RPG was a stint in the manufacturing. Very quickly, right in the beginning of the telecom introduction in India and private sector, I've been in that journey right from day one of the telecom journey for India. That's where when India was talking about mobile telephone communication for the first time, and I had an opportunity to join the bandwagon there and be part of that particular journey. So in the telecom space, while the first of the jobs was such that nobody knew what exactly was happening out there. Therefore, I also didn't know anything there. But all of us were there, very passionate and very committed to getting that on a solid beginning there. And we really put in fantastic hard yards as well as the smart work together as a combination. That's what was the beginning story, where everything what we were doing we were doing for the first time, and there is no precedence to go and compare, take notes and compare notes or what have you. And it's essentially about saying that, figure out the things as you're doing things there. That's how the journey began. And it's been a very rewarding journey, so to speak, being associated with telecom industry, and that I would go on to spend almost 2 decades plus in telecom across various organizations and various stints there. That's the starting journey. I would say that. Okay, and as things have turned out, was that one job got me to another job in telecom, and then moved from BPL Mobile in the early days to the Tatas there. And every time it's about being associated with a new venture, a new organization, setting up everything new all over again, making use of whatever learnings I've gathered in the first job, go back and put it in the second job, and so on and so forth. So again, it was all coming back one after the other in terms of the roles there, and multiple roles, right from commercial operations to let's say handling parts of finances to handling aspects of let's say funding as intense in the finance world as it can be. We're working on setting up the business plan for the organization, and then working on getting the long-term funding committed based on the project cost finalization along with the lead lenders as the case may be. So while the first jobs was about out and out figuring out everything and focused on operations, the next was about working on funding aspects there, and then leading on to setting up finance functions as the case may be, and then leading further into managing the various aspects of quasi-financial and commercial operations, the way I would like to put it. Essentially, I've always had an opportunity to play a role in the space where commerce meets operations, or commerce meets, or a finance meets the customers, and that's the convergence spaces where I've managed to have my career working through. So that's where I was able to get the best of both worlds in my work life. That's how I would describe my first initial portion of the career.
That's really very interesting to know indeed. So you have spearheaded several roles with your excellent leadership skills. What, according to you, accounts for a true leadership?
Okay, so true leadership is something which is many things there. Okay, I can call out a few which I thought were very, very important. Okay, first up, I would talk about a very important aspect of balance between short-term objectives and long-term objectives of an organization. Oftentimes, the leaders are at the forefront of decision making and taking calls about on a day-to-day basis and on an ongoing basis about what to do next when you're in the crossroads out there. And if a leader has a higher bias towards short term, trying to meet the quarterly numbers and the immediate tasks out there, one might try and take certain calls, which may be good for getting the results on an immediate term basis. However, on a long-term basis, if you can look at it, one might not have taken adequate steps to address the long-term requirement. Okay. Now, as an example, let's say there is a pricing decision to be taken there. While you are setting up new initiative and then coming up with a product out there and a product positioning for the market out there, and you take a call about a easy way out saying that I would like to try to drop the price so that I can meet my immediate quarter's numbers, while the hard road would be to hold on to the pricing and hold on to the position, and then actually work on improving the effectiveness of the product to the customer and the value addition of the product to the customer out there. That's a hard way forward. While you may not immediately meet the short-term goals in such glory, but you would have set up the organization for a long-term very well. Okay? There are a bunch of examples where you can look at it. And another contrast can be, and you keep focusing on completely long-term only and saying that I'm going to keep investing for the future, and with complete disregard for the short-term initiatives, here and now initiatives, the stakeholders might lose interest in what's happening around, because the results are not shown and you are not able to motivate anybody and everybody around there, and the adequate support needed for the resources, including funding and anything else from long-term point of view that may not come through from stakeholders, including people's commitment towards the organization would take a beating if you're focusing a lot on the long term and compromising on short term. Therefore, the key is to find the right balance between short term and long term. That's something which is very key. The next aspect I would call out is, let's say, while you are managing the affairs of an organization or an operations, as the case may be, when you do that, you need to strive for excellence and make sure that everything what you do out there, there is a passion brought in and there is an excellence is what one is striving for, without compromising on anything what you do on a day-to-day basis. That's something where one leader should stand as an example and also lead the rest of the organization towards focusing on striving for excellence on even on mundane things that are so-called small things out there also. Okay, because the habits are formed that way, right? The another important aspect I would like to bring out is, let's say, the people. Okay, the people. How do you coach the people, mentor the people, and work with the people who would look at you for guidance, as the case may be. Okay, so when you do that, when you stay invested in the people out there, and then help them finding their roles and helping them achieving their own objectives or goals, as the case may be. When you invest yourself on people, the people will come back and work for you, and they will keep your faith and repay that n number of times all over again for you. It's the people who will make a difference between a successful organization and a not so successful organization out there. And if you are able to work on, let's say, career paths for the people out there, and also succession planning, that way you not only take care of the people there, also for the organization, for a sustenance of the organization in a longer period of time, that's something which comes in handy as well. The related aspect is be fair to people. Be fair to people and be open, transparent, be fair to people. That's the mantra when you're dealing with people out there. So while we can go on and talk about many more, I would like to call out these 2-3 as the key elements of being a leader.
Yeah. But these are like some really great leadership skills that you have shared with us. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure like everyone watching this, and it's going to help them too. So I want to know, like, what are some of the challenges that you have faced throughout your career journey?
Okay, so it goes without saying that, obviously there will be challenges when you want to go and perform. And in a career spanning about 2.5 decades plus, obviously there are multiple such challenges out there. But I would like to call out a few and see if I can elaborate that. Okay. Now, right in the beginning, like I called out earlier, maybe while the challenge was to figure out the things as you go and do it when you are involved in, let's say, new industry, new business where there is no benchmark, there is no reference. Okay. Now, if you talk about today's environment of startups, for example, let's say, okay, that's also a similar kind of space where people are very passionate and want to bring something to the fore, but they would be struggling to make sure that they're able to meet the requirements of the customers, the stakeholders, and so on and so forth. The scene was no different for us when a new business, a telecom business, was started, and then figuring out everything on ourselves, and we made multiple mistakes, bunch of mistakes out there. Okay, but we learned on the way, and then that kind of helped there. Okay? The other next one I can call out is, okay, working on the finance role and funding initiative, long-term funding. So it is about completely working on, let's say, project plan and business plan out there, and then getting those business plans across to the financial institutions like IDBI and ICICI and SBI, and work convince them about the potential of that particular business and the project plans out there, and then work with them to get their projects approved, and in turn the funding approved for long-term funding approved for that particular initiative. That's an interesting challenge. Down the line in the career out there, where we were working on, let's say, while the first two examples is about setting up for the first time and stuff like that, the down the line it's about when things are going, but things are not going well, and how do you go back and really re-engineer or completely rehaul the whole operations, and then try to work with newer set of initiatives and objectives. Mind you, it's not easy. It's not easy because it is a running vehicle. When the vehicle is running out there, and then there is no choice that you will stop the vehicle and go back and try to fix things, and before you put that vehicle back on the road there. The requirement was there to let the vehicle continue to run on the highway, and you should be able to maneuver your moves and go back and fix things while the vehicle is on a highway and high speed there. So that's the kind of challenge when you try to work on an organization which calls for re-engineering and massive changes for the policies, processes, people, and what have you. And mind you, change management is a very, very difficult thing to work with, because people get used to a certain kind of operations, and then when you want to change things, and they get really stuck with it, and you need to really take them on board and then convince them, and then share your vision with them, make sure that they also form part of your journey there. That's the not one, two such instances I had an opportunity to work on re-engineering initiatives during the middle and towards the end of the career. And towards the very end, while I carry academic background of CA, I had constantly been challenging myself to take roles across various functions, and so much so the functions towards the end of my work life there was about things like handling customer service and heading the customer service for an organization there, or let's say things like business excellence and enterprise risk management. So when it comes to customer service, the mindset is completely different. The typical finance mindset would be to make sure that control mindset is there, and you are always focused on numbers, as the case may be. When it comes to things like customer service, then you need to turn everything on its head and make sure that you put customer at the forefront of everything, and make sure that the customer satisfaction levels are measured. You keep looking at the process, policies, everything else to tweak and make sure that the customer is able to enjoy the service, what they've paid for, and more importantly, to work with the organization, getting the organization tuned towards keeping the customer at the center of everything. So working with the teams, working with the external teams out there, and getting them to focus on that, my God, that's a good big challenge as well. So across the stints, multiple stints, just thought I'd call out a few of them.
Yes, that's really great indeed, I must say. And I'm sure, like, with the challenges, you've only grown through, you've just, grown over the years. So I want to know, like, how and when did you develop an interest in corporate governance?
Okay, so I would say that corporate governance, when you call the word corporate governance out separately, distinctly, it sounds as something different. But corporate governance is omnipresent. Okay, when you take money from a stakeholder, okay, and you run your business on behalf of them, whatever may be your capacity, okay, you have a responsibility towards those stakeholders. Okay? Now, you cannot do that without adequate focus on the corporate governance. Okay, it came in different avatars, different ways through my work life, but there are a few passages in my career where this stood out very, very strongly. Okay, it takes me back to, let's say, I have a contrasting stories of corporate governance, and here I'm not going to take the names of the organization just for obvious reasons, but I would tell you the situations there. Okay, in the beginning of my career, the organizations I worked with were all very highly passionate organizations and with a go-getter attitude, and definitely there to make a big difference to the world. But the some of the stakeholders out there, their approach towards business and approach towards safeguarding the organization's funds and operations and stuff like that was slightly different. Okay, now they wouldn't worry too much about let's say thinking about how to inflate numbers as the case may be, or how to go back and introduce a fake element of a revenue as the case may be, or similar things, or work and tweak the cost reporting in some manner and stuff like that. Now, these are some things which while I was going through the motions as a person in the early part of the career, while I was loving and enjoying everything else what I was doing, this aspect is something, even though I saw some of my colleagues were being forced to do that, that's something which I not like one bit. No, I was telling myself, saying, this is not the way one should be working. This is not the way one should be, messing up with the affairs of the organization. They may get some short-term gains, but from a long-term point of view, it is not the way out at all. So while this is a negative kind of an example, then subsequently the organizations I've worked with, global names, big names out there, those organizations were very heavy into governance, internal controls, as the case may be. Okay? Everything what you do and how you do is important. End does not justify the means at all. Okay? So in that environment, though I came from a different kind of environment and background, the moment I went there, I realized that, yeah, this is where I kind of, I'm comfortable. I can be this. I can be myself in this particular one there. That's where right from after a very first few years, after that, the entire environment in which I've been able to work was such that we were eating, sleeping, breathing, internal control and corporate governance as the case may be. Okay, that kind of helped me in managing my affairs very comfortably, while hitting the numbers is very important, while making sure that we run a profitable organization is very important, and also personal gains, the way career growth and things are very important, but it cannot come at the cost of governance, as the case may be. Okay, so that's in this example where I kind of very comfortable. I kind of was able to find myself fitting very nicely into the setup out there, and more importantly, when I went back home in the second kind of instance, I could sleep peacefully through the night. Okay, even though my responsibilities increased many folds, and I would go on to handle values in terms of 10,000 crores or 20,000 crores and things like that, as the case may be. While the initial portion could have been in the 50 crores and 100 crores, and as the case may be, but the life was much more peaceful, even though the values I was handling is much, much larger, basically because I knew that I'm not initiating anything wrong. My extended team is not working on anything wrong. My organization is not setting for anything wrong, and I can sleep peacefully. And at the same time, I'm also sure that my stakeholders are also very comfortable saying things are happening in the right manner. So between these two instances or these two situations is where somewhere the seeds of corporate governance had been buried in my mind somewhere, and come the right opportunity, I said, okay, why not I bring it to the fore? That's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, that's really very wonderful indeed to know. So as someone upskilling oneself in the corporate governance space, what values do you offer to the corporate world?
It's a natural extension because let's say I had been through different situations, different projects, different roles. it's not just finance alone. I've been in operations, I've been in customer service, I've been in different companies out there, companies who did not believe so much in corporate governance versus companies who believed in that, leaders who did not believe in that versus leaders who believed in that. And somewhere along the line, I also formed my own approach towards this. I believe that I've picked up adequate experience, exposure towards what is good and what is bad. I know the distinction between a bad corporate governance, a good corporate governance, and especially in the context of an organization's operations and various parts of the business of that. Since I myself have traversed through those, any situation of questionable corporate governance environment or situation, that's something I can comfortably look at it and say that, look, I can relate to this, I can connect with this, I know what's right and what's wrong, and I can not just say that this is right or this is wrong. I also believe that I'll be able to give a kind of a shed a light on which direction one should work on. How can one accomplish the objective of a good corporate governance? That it's not just what. I can also kind of help them in looking at the how of corporate governance. That's what I believe I bring to the table, and that's what I believe I have to offer the organizations. One of the key reasons why I even wanted to pick up a program like this and sign up for becoming an independent director is all part of saying that, I have something to offer. While I myself am running a couple of businesses ever since I quit my day job, and then I now have run a couple of businesses myself out there. I said, while I do that and focus on my own objectives, I thought the professional side of it, the other side of it, is where I have an opportunity to give something back to the businesses and back to the organizations out there. So, which is what I was trying to do by this initiative.
That's great. So I want to know, like, when we talk about technology, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with changes in technology? And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, and Web 3.0?
Fantastic. I would like to just pull back, and I know that, Falak, in your lifetime, there are certain things you have taken for granted. And would you believe that in my lifetime, until I reached my adulthood, or little into it, we didn't have internet. Can you believe that there was a period in our lives when there was no internet at all? The concept of internet itself, proliferation of that particular thing, I saw it happening through my adult life. Now, today, I'm sure neither you nor me nor anybody else can imagine a world without internet. Okay? That's a big technological change. I'm just trying to call out one big example where something like internet not being there versus internet being there, and then now our lives is revolving around internet, everything we do, including things like the current call we are making right now. It's all enabled by the internet out there. So that's a big technology. And I've seen how we've adapted to that particular technology, which is omnipresent right now. Next to, let's say, food and water, internet is almost equal to that, if not even bigger than those there. That's a big technology. That's a big change there. We all adapted to it, and we all have reaped the benefit of it. Okay. Now, I may have taken you to the Stone Ages there. Okay, but technology is something keeps evolving, and all these acronyms of AI, ML, big data, analytics, and what have you. All these things are keeps coming into our lives there. The way I look at things is change is the only constant. Okay, if as an individual, if you recognize this phrase that change is the only constant and apply that to as much to technology, be ready to welcome technology changes out there, and not just welcoming technology changes, also be part of the particular journey, adapt yourself to that, and then you can see that it will help you immensely in whatever you're trying to do. Okay? Leading to things like, some of these technologies out there, what is today, I'm sure there will be more which comes in the future. Like I said, no internet, we cannot imagine life without internet. Now we are talking about these. Tomorrow there could be some other technologies. Change is the only constant. Given that, let's say, all these technologies, the key element for human beings in general, and of course for me as well, to say that, how do we make use of the technology and make sure that you use the technology for some routine, mundane, repetitive activities where you're not going to be good at it, you're not going to be fast at it. The technology can enable it, make it error-free, faster, as the case. We want to bring it to the most rudimentary form of definition of technology. Okay, while that can happen, as an individual, you should, and all of us should make sure that we focus a lot on how do we add value, how do we take advantage of the technology, and then how do we make sure that our lives are improved, our customers' lives are improved, our stakeholders' lives are improved, everything else happening out there. If we can do that, and if you're ready to face the changes as they're occurring, and not just facing, embrace the changes out there, and be ready to use the technologies and then use them as enablers rather than as deterrents or anything else, I'm sure you can deal with any technological changes as we come across in life. And I'm sure we will come across with more and more technological changes. And to come back to our own, let's say, corporate governance and that kind of space out there, see how we can use technology for, let's say, things like data analytics, for example. Okay, when you have a large data set out there, and then while you would have found it difficult to figure out what's happening out there because something could have been very deep inside the data out there. See if you can use the big data analytics as a combination to apply for analyzing the numbers and results and the operations much better, and see whether things are going all right or not. As an example, like that, you can look at let's say AI and ML. Okay, then you see, go back in our own routine practices of, let's say, checks and balances, the organization, or let's say control mechanisms and everything else out there. Can we come up with, or can we use the tools which are built on the basis of AI and ML, and go back and see how can you focus on getting the what I would like to say is things like needle from a haystack. We're able to use these technologies to focus on getting that probable needle from the haystack. It is possible now. You can focus and remove that needle and separate out and work with the haystacks. That's what you want. Or if you focus on to get the needle and then work with the needle out there, maybe you can actually go back and dare to pick up that particular single needle out there. So anything is possible. So be aware, be ready, be conscious, and make use of the technology and embrace the technology. That's how I would like to look at it.
Yes, thank you for that. So as you know, like we are building a community of industry magnets. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. So what are your thoughts about this initiative taken about by Mr. Sushant Pathan, Mr. Hemal Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
It's a fantastic initiative. This initiative helps shedding a light on that particular aspect of, let's say, the corporate governance, and building the leaders in the space of corporate governance, and creating a platform for the leaders to come on board and be part of the journey, share their own individual experiences, and also have a learning from each other as the case may be. And the platform created by World Development Council enables people to learn from each other, and also share their own knowledge and wisdom with each other. And in this process, I think we would be creating a whole new bunch of leaders in the space out there. And I'm sure the World Development Council is working under the leadership of Kesavan and others, working on this particular initiative. And it will go further the cause of creating whole army of fantastic leaders in the corporate governance space there. We need those. We need those with the growing economy and the growing businesses out there. and the governance becomes very important element out there. And while growth can happen, but it can happen in a sustainable manner only if you're able to also have the framework of governance in place there. And who better to help those framework rather than the people who are equipped, enabled by an environment and the platform created in this. So fantastic job. So keep doing that.
Thank you for these really kind words. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you so much once again for joining us today, Mr. S. Kesavan. We wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds.
Thank you, Parag. Pleasure is mine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm sure like everyone watching this, it's going to help them grow in their careers too. Like all your principles, the values and everything, the wonderful words that you've shared. I'm sure that, everyone watching this is going to help them.
Hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you so much.